Most people think a blue badge is only about one marked parking bay. That is exactly why many older people miss help they could be using every single week. Some are paying charges they may not need to pay at all. Others are still walking farther than they should because nobody ever explained the small print. If you want clear UK updates before a rule change, parking charge, or hidden form catches you out, subscribe now, because this channel turns confusing public information into simple English you can actually use. The first hidden benefit is this: a blue badge is linked to the person, not to one single car. That sounds small, but for many families it changes everything. It means the badge can usually be used whether you are the driver, the passenger, or being picked up and dropped off by someone helping you get to an appointment, shop, bank, or hospital. So if your daughter drives you to a clinic, the badge can still matter. If your neighbor takes you to collect a prescription, the badge can still matter. If you use a taxi or a hire car, the badge can still matter there too. A lot of people leave the badge at home because they think it only works in their own vehicle, and that mistake can make a simple trip much harder than it needs to be. Now, here is the part most people miss. This does not mean your family can use your badge whenever they like. The badge is there for your journey and your needs, not for someone else's errands. If your son drives into town without you, just to park closer to the chemist, the badge should not be used. If a relative uses it while shopping alone, that can count as misuse. That is why this benefit is powerful, but only if you understand the rule properly. The badge gives support to the disabled person, not a general parking pass to the household. Used the right way, it can make lifts from friends, carers, and family much easier. Used the wrong way, it can lead to serious trouble, including the badge being taken away and a fine. Think about how often older people now travel as passengers. A lot of people over 60 are not driving every day anymore, but they still need to get to podiatry, blood tests, the post office, the optician, or a pension appointment. If you are that passenger, your badge can still protect your journey, and that can take real pressure off carers who are trying to park nearby without breaking the rules. This is also helpful for people whose health changes from week to week. Some days you might manage a short walk. On other days, pain, breathlessness, dizziness, or balance problems make that same walk much harder. Because the badge follows the person, not just the vehicle, you do not lose that support simply because somebody else is driving that day. Have you ever had to turn down a trip or cancel an appointment because the parking was too far away? If that has happened to you, leave a comment saying "too far," because it happens to more people than many realize. Another hidden benefit is the money and time you may save on street parking. In many places, a blue badge lets you park on streets with parking meters or pay and display machines for free and for as long as you need. It can also let you use on-street disabled bays for free, often without a time limit unless a sign says there is one. That is a major benefit, and yet many people still pay because they assume the machine always applies to them. This matters more than people think. Imagine going into town for what you think will be a quick stop. Then the bank queue is longer than expected. The pharmacist says, "Come back in 20 minutes," and the GP surgery runs late. For someone with mobility problems, going back and forth to top up a parking ticket can be painful, stressful, and sometimes impossible. A blue badge can remove that extra strain in many on-street spaces. But that is not the full story. The key words are on street. A supermarket car park, hospital car park, shopping center, or private retail site may have separate rules. Many people assume the blue badge means free parking everywhere, and that is where they get caught out. Some private car parks still charge. Some need you to register your vehicle. Some have cameras and strict rules even if you display the badge properly. So the smart habit is simple. Before you walk away from the car, look at the sign. Check whether the bay is on street or off street. Check whether there is a local time limit. Check whether the site has its own system. That 30-second check can save a real headache later, especially if a parking notice lands on your mat weeks after the visit. There is one more twist here that matters in certain places. Some parts of central London and some airports operate different disabled parking schemes. So even if you have used your badge many times before, do not assume the same rule follows you everywhere. The badge is useful, but local differences still matter, and that is why people need to stay alert instead of relying on memory from years ago. Now pay close attention to this next part because it can save more than money. Free parking or longer parking time is not just a perk. For many older people, it is the difference between being able to live independently and having to give up everyday tasks. If you can park close enough and stay long enough, you are more likely to attend appointments, collect your own documents, and keep control of your day. Some people also do not realize that the clock matters when there is a time limit. If the place you are using is time limited, you need to set the parking clock to show when you arrived. That detail feels tiny, but it matters. A badge shown without the correct clock can still lead to trouble, even when the person was genuinely entitled to park there. If you know someone who still feeds the parking machine because they think the badge does nothing for them, share this video with them. It could save them money every month without changing anything except what they know. Now let's talk about the rule that surprises people most. In many cases, a blue badge lets you park on single or double yellow lines for up to 3 hours. Yes, yellow lines. That is one of the biggest hidden blue badge benefits in the country, and yet a huge number of badge holders never use it, because they assume yellow always means absolutely no parking under any circumstances. This can help in places where there are no disabled bays nearby or where all the marked spaces are already taken. It can help outside a health center, near a care visit, close to a church service, or during a short trip to deal with something urgent. For someone with limited walking ability, that shorter distance can make the whole outing possible instead of painful. Here is where many people get caught out though. Yellow lines do not mean you can stop anywhere you like. If there is a loading ban, the blue badge does not override it. You need to watch for the yellow marks on the curb and the signs nearby. If those signs say loading is banned, the 3-hour yellow line rule usually does not apply there. And there are other places where the badge will not protect you. It does not let you block a junction. It does not let you stop on zigzag lines near crossings. It does not let you use bus stops, school keep clear markings, clearways, bus lanes, cycle lanes, or spaces reserved for other users like loading bays and resident bays. The badge gives important help, but it does not cancel safety rules. This is why the clock is so important again. If you park on yellow lines using the badge, you normally need to display the blue parking clock showing your arrival time. There is also a rule about returning to the same road in the same vehicle on the same day. In general, after using that yellow line concession, you need to wait before parking in the same road again. Many people have never been told that. Now imagine this common scene. An older person goes into town with their carer for a hearing aid check. There are no disabled bays nearby. They use a yellow line space, display the badge and the clock, and manage the appointment without an exhausting extra walk. That is not abusing the system. That is exactly the kind of real-life support the scheme is there for when it is used correctly. This is the detail that changes everything. A blue badge is not only about easier parking, it is also about conserving energy. For many people, the hardest part of an outing is not the outing itself. It is the extra distance at the start and end. Saving even 50 or 100 meters each way can mean less pain, less risk of a fall, and less recovery time when you get home. Have you ever avoided town altogether because the parking rules felt like a trap? Tell me yes or no in the comments, because that confusion is one reason so many people miss help that is already there. There is another hidden benefit that people often find out far too late. In many areas, blue badge holders can ask the local council for a disabled parking space near their home. Not everyone will qualify, and the local rules are different from one council to another, but this option is real, and it can make day-to-day life much easier. This matters most for people who live on busy roads, near town centres, or in streets where parking is always full by evening. If you come home from treatment, shopping or work and have to park far from your own front door, that walk can become the hardest walk of the day. For someone already dealing with pain, weakness or poor balance, that can turn a normal return home into a real problem. Now this is where people need to understand the difference between what they hope for and what councils actually provide. In some places, the bay near your home may be advisory, which means other drivers may still ignore it. In other places, there may be stronger controls. Some councils may create a space that any blue badge holder can use, not one reserved only for you. So it is a big help, but it is not always private. Even so, it is well worth checking. Many people never ask because they assume the answer will be no, but if you have a valid badge, use a vehicle regularly, and have real difficulty parking close to home, your council may have a process for assessment. That could mean forms, proof of address, details of your badge, and information about the vehicle used by you or your carer. For carers, this can be especially important. If you help an older parent who cannot manage a long walk from the car to the house, a nearby bay can reduce the strain on both of you. It can make hospital discharges smoother, home care visits easier, and ordinary trips less stressful. Sometimes the hidden benefit is not only what it gives the badge holder, but what it takes off the shoulders of the person helping them. Now here is the part many people miss again. Councils do not normally come chasing you to offer this. You usually need to ask. If you never ask, you may never know whether the support exists in your area. So if parking near home is a daily struggle, do not just put up with it year after year. Check your council website or contact them and see what scheme they run. If you have ever tried to get a disabled bay near home, let others know how it went in your area. Your experience could help somebody else know what to expect before they start the process. Now let's move to a benefit that can save serious money if you travel into the capital. Many people do not realize that blue badge holders can apply for a 100% discount on the London congestion charge and on the Blackwall and Silvertown tunnels charge. That is a big deal, especially for people who travel into London for hospital visits, specialist treatment, family support, or regular appointments. But listen carefully, because this is exactly where confusion causes people to lose money. That discount is not automatic. Having the badge alone is not enough. You normally need to set up the proper London Road user charging account and complete the application. You may need to upload both sides of the blue badge and a proof of identity document. If you assume the system will just know, you could still end up being charged. And here is the warning people need most. Do not mix up the congestion charge discount with ULEZ. They are not the same thing. A lot of people hear one disabled driving concession and think all London charges are covered, but that is simply not true. Blue badge holders can still have to pay ULEZ unless the vehicle itself qualifies under the separate rules or exemption arrangements in place. This kind of misunderstanding is exactly why people feel tricked later. They were not trying to do anything wrong. They just thought one badge meant one automatic rule across the board. It does not. Different charges can have different systems, and the safest approach is always to check the exact scheme before the journey, especially if the trip is expensive or repeated often. There is also another hidden money saver tied to health visits. At NHS trusts and foundation trusts in England, disabled patients and visitors with a valid blue badge should get free parking for the duration of their attendance or visit. That can make a huge difference for people going to repeated outpatient appointments, visiting a spouse on a ward, or supporting a parent through treatment. Now, this does not mean you should ignore the hospital signs. Local process still matters. Some hospitals may ask you to register the badge, validate the stay, or follow site instructions. Some hospital grounds also include areas run differently. So the safe move is this: ask at reception, patient services, or the parking desk as soon as you arrive if you are unsure. That simple question can stop a nasty parking surprise later. This is where the real problem starts for many families. They are already worried about scans, blood tests, discharge plans, or visiting times. Parking becomes just one more stress sitting on top of everything else. That is why knowing this rule early matters. If you or someone you care for has regular hospital contact, free parking may not be a favor. It may be something you are entitled to under the current guidance. And there may be even more local help beyond that. Some councils offer extra off-street parking concessions for blue badge holders. Some places have access arrangements or local schemes that other drivers do not get. The key point is this: the national badge opens the door, but local councils and local authorities can still shape what extra help exists, where you live or where you travel. If this part has already taught you something new, send it to one person who drives an older parent, partner, or neighbor to appointments. One right piece of information at the right time can save them stress, money, and a long walk they never needed to make. Before we finish, there is one more useful extra that many people do not hear about until they are already abroad. A UK blue badge can be recognized in some European countries, but this is not something to guess about. Rules differ from country to country and sometimes even from one area to another. Some places may want extra documents or a local parking disc, and some may not recognize the badge in the same way at all. So if you are planning a trip, do not assume your UK rules follow you overseas. Check before you travel. That matters even more now because some countries have changed or can change how they deal with non-local disabled parking permits. The badge may still help, but only if you know the local rule before you park. Now let's pull this all together in the simplest way possible. The hidden blue badge benefits many people miss are not small details. They can change daily life. The badge can travel with you in different cars. It can give free or longer on-street parking in many places. It can let you use yellow lines for a limited time when it is safe and allowed. It can help you ask for a bay near home. And it can unlock extra savings through things like London charge discounts and free NHS hospital parking for disabled patients and visitors. But the real lesson is just as important as the benefits. Never assume. Check the sign. Use the clock when you need to. Learn the local rule. Keep the badge only for the disabled person's journey. And if something has to be applied for separately, do that before the trip instead of after the penalty arrives. A lot of people lose out not because they are careless, but because nobody ever explained the difference between national rules, local rules, private car parks, hospital systems, and London charging schemes. Once you understand those differences, the whole subject becomes much less scary. And that is when the badge starts doing what it was meant to do, which is helping people get closer, safer, and with less stress. So if you found even one hidden blue badge benefit here that you did not know before, subscribe now and keep this channel close. And share this with someone older, a carer, or a family driver, because the people who need this information most are often the last ones to hear it.